Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Chase. You are the gateway into comics. Write every day and write well, and your stuff will sell. Let's just jump right in. Today is part 2 of a series I'm calling Don't Write Comics Like an NPC. So basically all we're doing here, we're going through some very important points and strategies to use to level up your stories to make them go from good to great. And last video we talked about the creation of a master book. When we're creating universes that are very different from our own, it's very helpful, of course, to have that master book with a list of everything that happens in your world. It's basically recording everyday life and creating a baseline, right? And having that to draw from and gosh, I mean, it even adds to sequels. It's one of the most useful tools for universe creation, of course. And then I touched on foreshadowing a little bit and symbolism, and I kind of mixed them together as well and touched on what it looks like when you mix those two together. So today, really, I'm going to be talking about imagery more than anything, but I'm going to touch on a lot of different points about imagery, okay? So this is the coolest thing about it. There's two elements that I love about imagery and how it works. It moves within your story, but it also moves your story, right? And I'll kind of explain a little bit deeper here. So imagery is just simply an image that takes on repeated meaning as the story unfolds, right? Sometimes it only registers with our subconscious unless we're looking for it. A lot of very experienced readers will look for that kind of thing, subconsciously even, because they've seen so many images that have been tied to the theme, and I'll get to that in a second. Here's the thing. Images in our human minds always convey feelings. No matter what, when you have an image tagged to it just bam, pops in your head, immediately you have a feeling attached to it. And here's why imagery is so powerful in writing comic books, right? It's this Robert McKee quote, and of course this is just the second half of it. It's my favorite quote from his book Story, which I love. When talented people write well, it's generally for this reason. They're moved by desire to touch the audience. That's deep, and it's very true, and it's true for this book as well. And I'll get to that in a second. I know I did a full review on that. I'm touching on it a little bit more today because the use of imagery is fantastic in this book. So yes, that's our goal. With the use of imagery, we want to really hit the reader's subconscious first and get those emotions going. And like I said, a lot of our readers, they won't know that this is happening unless they're more experienced with looking for imagery, right? So it affects us without even knowing it, right? I don't see it all the time, but I feel it, you know? You feel those things in the stories. Here's the most important and powerful thing. When you attach the use of imagery to the theme of your story, it gives it extra power. It's the thing that produces strength in imagery. Without it, it's kind of bland and dull and doesn't hit home with your readers. So this is important. Link those images to one of your story's prevalent themes. And this is even deeper and again, a little bit more esoteric. Even allow the use of imagery to add extra layers to your theme. What's a perfect example of this? Or a good example. My perfect example is later. This is a good example. If you guessed Star Wars, then you're absolutely correct. So firstly, prevalent theme in Star Wars. Clearly we go with the good versus evil, light versus dark. It's a very prevalent theme. So think about the imagery of Vader's helmet, right? What that represents, what it conveys. It's the representation of darkness. It's an image that immediately commands power. And it makes you ask a question if you've never seen it before. Who is this man? Is he a warring tribalist of the past? It certainly has that imagery. It creates a mystery of what's behind it. Is this a man? Is this a machine? Is this a beast? It's a powerful image. Just like I said, the warring tribalists would wear these masks, some dark like this, right? So think about that imagery. Think about the scene in the cave on the Dagobah system when, Luke confronts Darth Vader in the cave and the mask is shattered and Luke sees his own face within. An extra layer is even added to the prevalent theme there. Not only are you seeing light versus dark now, because of this imagery, just changing that imagery a little bit, part of the overall theme becomes confronting that darkness that may be inside, confronting the fear, once again, the power of fear in story, confronting the fear that you may be corrupt inside and not even know it, right? And that's part of the hero's journey, right? Confronting the shadow, stepping through the shadow, coming out the other side. Imagery also, I don't want to confuse this with symbolism. Within stories, symbolism grows its power by delving into universal symbols that we all commonly understand. Once again, I discussed that last video. Feel free to check it out. I left the link in the description below. Imagery has its meaning, like I said, only inside the story. So being linked to your theme, it intrinsically makes connections in your reader's mind, right, to other situations, to the theme. And this is actually my favorite, most recent example in comics of use of imagery. So I just reviewed this comic, gosh, I guess it was yesterday, the day before. What day is it? I have no idea. It came out last week, Justice League Dark #5. And so this is kind of different in comics, right? Because we're talking about words and pictures. It's together. Now, a lot of imagery can just be conveyed in words. But again, in comics, we're going with a mixture of the two, of course, because comics are words and pictures, right? So this book, working as a single issue, it specifically explores one of Stan Lee's most important themes of all, right? That was from Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility. And think here about the detective chimp. Again, this very first page. If you don't know the story, when Rook passed away, he left his magical sword to Bobo. And this responsibility to be this powerful hero, the Nightmaster, the guardian of Mira, it fell upon the detective chimp. And so today was his funeral. And so the chimpanzee drinks. And that's powerful. That's powerful because it's an image that's repeated throughout the book. Consistently, especially in this scene. He dulls it the best he can, and then he drinks. And again, people are consoling him about the death. The chimpanzee drinks. It's powerful because he's shirking his responsibility. And he's doing it in such a way that he may not even realize it's happening, but he is not confronting that fear. He's not moving past it. He's not coming out the other side. And it's one of those things about this character that he's kind of caught in this cycle of realizing it, stepping past it, doing something heroic, and then falling back into that same mindset, you know? I love Bobo. I think he's great. This very powerful. And again, the imagery is repeated here at the end, really driving all of this home. You find out, he says, "We had a pact to Bobo, and it's time you paid for breaking it." And the chimpanzee drinks. That's fantastic. Looking at that, it's the imagery of that. What does that mean in the theme? It's the shirking of that responsibility, that power that he needs to use to do something great, and he's setting it aside because he's scared, because of his fear. Again, this is one of those wonderful images that shows his fear, that shows that theme, you know? Again, think about how powerful that is. And just those two things, in using those in the story, this could have just been two scenes. Today is his funeral, the chimpanzee drinks, and then at the very end, the same thing. It still would have conveyed that exact same experience, those feelings in your reader's mind. And again, like I said, I'll say it again. Robert McKee says, when talented people write well, it's generally for this reason. They're moved by desire to touch the audience. And again, that's what imagery does. That's the power of it. It takes that theme and it conveys the emotion that the theme wants to convey. It's a vehicle to use that theme to really move your readers in a deep way. So again, use imagery all the way throughout your stories. It's very powerful. Don't write like an NPC. Tell me what you think. I love to read all of your comments. I appreciate it so much. It's great to hear what the community has to say about writing. Fantastic little community we found here. I have so little time to respond, but I will respond if I can. Subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Again, I am Chase. You are the gateway into comics. See you tomorrow. Have a great day.